Good morning, everybody, and happy Memorial Day to everyone out there. Hank, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Jim.
We had watched the game last night between Boston and the Cavs. The old experienced vets played well. The young kids, three of them didn't really show up offensively, and that really made a big difference in the outcome.
You know, I hit every game except last night, but I did have the under. And the last four games, I guess, went under. They were pretty messy games, to be honest with you, except for the display that LeBron put on and Green shooting and the play of Tatum for the Celtics. But you know, what surprised me a little bit was that as good a coach as the Celtics have, he left Brown in the game, and he stunk. And he played a dumb game. I mean, he was throwing the ball away. His passing was bad. His defense was bad. And he was taking ridiculous shots, and he wasn't coming close. And he took him out of the game. I mean, they were in that game until he started shooting it up from all over the place. I mean, they were able to overcome the fact that the other two guys weren't shooting well. Smart, like we talked about earlier, he gave him some defense, but
Rozier was terrible.
Rozier was 0 for 10, but he benched him. He kept him on the bench for a long period of time. He kept Brown in the game, and he should have had Smart in there instead of Brown, because Brown he just killed him. And it was when Brown started taking all those awful shots, instead of looking to feed Horford like they did early in the game, which was really working for him. Horford was killing everybody inside, and that was working. And they got away from that in the second half. And that was the end of it.
One of the things Lou made an adjustment every time Horford got the ball after he was killing him on that pick and roll. He started double teaming him, and then Horford had to kick it out to somebody, and of course the somebody's kept missing, and that's the problem. You need those guys you kick out to. You need them to hit, and they didn't hit.
But they weren't looking for him in the second half. You know, they were. I mean, Brown he just couldn't get the ball to anybody. He just wanted to shoot. And it was ridiculous.
Well, they are young kids, and this is their first time at it. They're going to be a good team for a long time.
Well, they really miss Kyrie Irving and Hayward, the two best players. And Kyrie would have been a difference maker in this series because he could at least distribute the ball, and he's a 20 to 25, 20 to 30 point a game guy. Man, it would have been a difference.
It certainly would have. Absolutely. LeBron, of course, is amazing. He continues to be amazing. He's a different bird, that's for sure. There aren't too many of him.
Yep.
We had MJ for about 18 years, and his go-round ended in 2003, and ironically, that was the first year that LeBron played. So we had couple different decades, decade and a half from MJ, which is he was unbelievable then, and LBJ is unbelievable now as MJ was then. So two different decades, two different styles of basketball that were being played in those periods, and I enjoy watching them. I'm glad that I got to see both of them in their careers. It's been a real pleasure. Moving on.
Isaiah was on this morning on one of the shows, and he said, he played against a lot of the greats, including Kareem, and he said that Kareem was probably the best guy ever, but he said that he thought that that this guy's better than Michael for a couple of reasons. Michael might have been a better scorer or a better shooter, but his defense. Well, Michael was a great defensive player too. Remember, they called him the glove for a while. But LeBron sees the court and sees open men and gets the ball to open guys better than Michael did.
Yeah, he's a bigger man. He's a stronger man. He's just about as strong as anybody in the league. He's basically a forward that plays guard, and he's so physical that he can bowl over people. He's really an NFL linebacker or tight end playing basketball. He's an unbelievable specimen. Can't say enough about him. They're going to move on and play the winner of tonight's game, which is interesting. Golden State. I favor Golden State. I favored them from the beginning to win the West and win the championship. I still stick with that. I think once they find their game, and they did in Game 6 in the second half, if they stick with that style, don't turn the ball over, I don't think you can beat them. Question is, will they stick with that style and not turn the ball over? And then the other thing is, without Paul, and you and I agree on this, without Paul, we don't have a guy to facilitate the offense for the Rockets. They got a lot of good players. They've won 65 games. They're not a fake in any stretch of the imagination. They're very good, but they don't play good team basketball without Paul being able to control the ball and distribute. So that's going to be a big question. I don't think he's going to play, but I don't think any of us know.
It's tough for him to come back that quickly, and it's high risk for him to play. But Isaiah, who was on this morning, was talking about how he played with an injury, and he's kind of implying that Paul should suck it up and go out and play. Well, I remember when Isaiah played in that series against the Lakers, when my friend Mike Ornstein was working for the Raiders, and he was tight with Isaiah, and he got Isaiah into the Raiders training facility for treatment, and people out in L.A. went nuts because he was using the Raiders facility to help get healed and to play. And they thought that was a very disloyal thing on the Raiders' part to allow them in there. And that was old Ornstein who did that. And so he became an evil guy in L.A. But they got him well, and he well enough to play, although he played injured. He came out and he played great that night. I remember he had a hell of a game against the Lakers, and, they beat him. And Isaiah, who is not one for humility, said that he was one small man who beat them all. He said, remember, I beat Michael, I beat Kareem, I beat everyone I played against. He said, I beat the Celtics too. I beat every one of those teams.
He was a fantastic player, no question about it. He was unbelievable. It was great. The game was different back then. The injury police, so to speak, didn't police everything the teams did back then. They'd shoot them up, send them out. Now they got concussion protocols, and because they know the damage that these long-term concussions can cause. Some of these guys, like in football, have had so many concussions, they don't remember their name when they wake up in the morning. So it is something to concern. You have to take care of the body. So making all that money sounds great, but if you lose your functions, not so great. I think the Warriors win tonight. I think the price is steep. It's a very, you consider the team won 165 games. They got a lot of good players, and they're a 6.5 point underdog at home, which is absolutely incredible. And that's up from original line of -5 where it opened. So everybody right now is all over Golden State, but I have a feeling that there's some big money tickets waiting in the wings to take some value on the dogs. That's what happens.
It all depends on who can suit up for Houston.
Yeah, but these math guys, they don't seem to concern themselves with that. They just, I'm not saying me. I like Golden State to win the game.
Well, that's why it went up.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of math guys out there that look at these two teams and they say this game should be pick 'em or 1, and now you're getting 7. So they're going to bet it because the number. They don't even. Hold on one second. I want to pause and I don't know how. There you go. Okay. Had a little interruption there. Apologize for that. I know some of these. They just they don't even know the names of the teams or the names of the players. They just go by numbers, and they have their success periods. I mean, everybody, there's different ways to approach it. Personally, you and I, Hank, look at the players and look at all the other trends and everything else that go along with it. But there's other forms of betting, and they have their success and failures also. Personally, I think Golden State's going to win. I don't know if it'll be tight or not. 6.5, 7 is an awful big number to be laying on the road in a game like this. But like I said, if Golden State doesn't turn the ball over and they play the style they did the other night, with or without Iguodala, of course it would be better with them. But
well, I think that there's a few factors that would have driven the number up. One was what happened last night with the road team going into Boston, that won by a fairly significant number on the road. Secondly, here's a team that was down by 10 points at the end of the third quarter that won by a significant margin in the last game, and they won by they were favored by 12.5, and they were down by 10 at the half, and they still covered that big number. So I think they're looking at Golden State as having found themselves, like you were saying, and I think that's why that drove this number up.
Yeah, I have Golden State to win the West, and I have them to win the championship, and so basically I'm not in need of going in and playing them tonight because I already have that bet, and that's it. That's not laying 6.5 or 7 or whatever the number is. But for my customers, I do like Golden State, and I'm hoping that they do win by 10 or more in the game. So, and then we move on to Thursday, which it's going to be Golden State or the Rockets against, and they have home court against the Cavaliers. And hold on again. Against the Cavaliers, and we talked about it earlier. Jeff Green had a heck of a game for the Cavs, and that gives them another option. Whether Love comes back, and I assume he will. There's a guy that had open heart surgery. It's amazing he's even playing basketball. But that's a great story.
Well, I think he'll be going up against another Green. We'll see what happens. I think Golden State will be able to defend him a little bit better than the Celtics did.
Well, yeah, definitely. The one problem with that is they're going to be the one problem there is, as far as price-wise concerned, Golden State's going to be 900 to 1,000 to 1 to win the series, and they're going to be big point spreads. So I don't think Cleveland will beat them, but they might cover some spreads because there's going to be some hefty spreads.
I think a lot of those games will be unplayable, but we'll see. I think I think at this point you got to look at LeBron's stamina and see how far he can go. he got a little bit tired. Remember, a couple of times during the series against Boston. Now he's coming off a 7-game series. You know, he might be just like justified going into the Belmont. How much does he have left?
Yeah, he would be just like justified in that respect. I think the addition of Jeff Green to the rotation really will help the Cavs. I don't think they're going to win. I do think they will cover some spreads, especially since, and I'm speaking as if the Warriors will win here, because it's a different matchup if they don't. But if the Warriors win, they have had a tendency from time to time to get very sloppy with the ball and turn it over a lot. I don't know if they'll continue that.
And Cleveland hasn't.
Oh yeah, they do too. Absolutely. But when you're
I'll tell you something. The Celtics missed a lot of open shots last night.
Oh.
And Cleveland's defense is not great. So, and Cleveland let a lot of things go by early in the game, and they lost that game last night because Boston couldn't make layups and they couldn't make open shots. And I'll tell you something, Golden State will not miss all those shots against them.
There's no question. There were a lot of open shots. It wasn't a pretty game. But you know, one of the handicap factors going into last night's game was I had some concern about the youth of the Celtics. You have a couple guys that are in their first year, and going into a Game 7 against a Cavs team that was trying to get to the finals for the Cavs, or not Cavs, but LeBron for the 8th straight time, that's climbing a mountain psychologically. Even though Boston is probably the better team, they're a young team. And, you know, youth can crumble under pressure when you don't have that experience. And I think that's what happened, because Mars, Rozier, and Brown were horrible. And they shot them right out of the game. So there's no question. I had the under. That was my big play, and it was an easy cover for the under. But, you know, you change that game around if those guys are hitting baskets, and they were not. They were missing everything. And then the addition of Green on the other side made all the difference. So it's going to be interesting tonight. I'm looking forward to it. And then Thursday, of course, we'll be back Wednesday to talk about that matchup. Tonight, you've got the Capitals going up against the Golden Knights, and they're out here in Vegas, and the Knights are favored. In this game, they're minus 140. You got anything on that game, Hank?
Well, a lot of sports books are going to be sweating this out. They're going to take a bath if the Golden Knights maintain. I think Washington, has had a tougher road to the finals. They beat Pittsburgh and they beat Tampa Bay, and that's a mighty accomplishment. I think they beat better teams to get here, and Ovechkin right now is playing out of his mind. It'll be an interesting series to watch, and I think the value play is Washington, but the sentimental play is going to be the Knights.
Yeah, it's not often you get an expansion team playing for the Stanley Cup trophy. This is absolutely an amazing season for them.
And being favored.
They've played well. They've played very well.
Well, they're aggressive, and they smother on defense, and they take away the center of the ice. That's what they do best. So this is something that Washington, which is an extremely well-coached team, is going to have to overcome.
I'm not really a hockey guy. I have guys like yourself and others that I talk to that know the game much better than I do. I never played it, was never around it. But I'm going to watch these games because they're 2 games. Game 7 and a game 1. Pretty exciting night for Memorial Day.
If you live in Las Vegas and you're not watching these games, you're going to be the only one.
You might lose your citizenship card. They might throw you out of the city if you don't watch. Well, thank you, Hank. Happy Memorial Day. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday.
Okay.
Thanks, Hank.
How about grandkids?